Reporters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanwo TV. And I'm going to start with the good news. And the good news is that my film, Colonel Holt Returns to Rendlesham, is now back on YouTube. YouTube have done the sensible thing. They've listened to my appeals, and they've taken on board the points I raised in the last few films I've done about this subject, which you will have probably seen. And they've now restored my video to YouTube. So now the claimant now has to sue me personally if he wants to keep this hidden, this awful infringement of his copyright, which is going to bankrupt him and ruin his life, I'm sure. As I said in the previous few films, I think that the claimant had a grudge. He had an ulterior motive. I don't think he gives a damn about copyright issues. I think he wanted that video taken down for reasons other than the ones he said. And this has got a lot to do with the behaviour of Colonel Holt during the last few months, and also the internal politics of the Rendlesham Forest incident and the various witnesses to it. Now, the things that Colonel Holt did say, well, there's no way that the claimant was going to stop me from publishing my video, and as you know, that I have actually uploaded it to another platform anyway. I'll continue to do that no matter what happens. So anyone trying to stop this film getting out is wasting their time. Hundreds of people have downloaded it. Okay, I'm going to be distributing it for free on DVD. It's out there. It's going to stay out there. No one can stop it. So just deal with it. Peter Robbins, co-author of Left at Eastgate with Larry Warren, is writing an article at the moment which will very shortly be published, and I will be sure to mention this article in the next instalment of these UFO Disclosure 2015 videos, all about this incident and everything that Colonel Holt said on that day in Rendlesham Forest. So stay tuned for that. This is an exciting time. I think it's a good vindication for Larry and Peter. At the same time, I express regret that this even happened at all. Colonel Holt was once the commanding officer of Larry and all the others, and he could take a lead. He could step up to the plate and be their leader again in this new mission that they had to accomplish. But he hasn't. Right, next Wednesday there is going to be a special Hapanwo radio show about the 20th anniversary of the alien autopsy. Now, as I've explained before, the alien autopsy and the Roswell Slides event are extremely similar. And this is why I want to make this the point that I made, I think, in previous films, is that I think there may be a parallel agenda here to do with disinformation. I don't know, but I think we should keep our eye on other things, other pieces of evidence that come out, that perhaps the Roswell Slides were meant to mess up, discredit, and essentially confuse. Because I've already explained why I think the alien autopsy of 1995 was that. Anyway, please stay tuned to the Hapanwo show on Hapanwo Radio. Go to the Hapanwo Radio blog. Now, there's a link in the description box to the interview I did with Steve Bassett. I'm hoping to get him back on again, incidentally. Just go to the homepage of that website, and you'll pretty soon see, in a couple of days, maybe tomorrow, I will post a notice for the upcoming program. Please bear in mind, if you're a regular Hapanwo Radio listener, that is not going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be on Wednesday, and it's going to be slightly earlier, probably 7 o'clock to 7:30. Okay? I'm actually permanently shifting the Hapanwo show away from Tuesday nights because it clashes with too many other radio programs. So please, I do hope that you will tune in, and by all means join the chat box. It'd be great to have you in there. Right, let's see how the media has been covering this subject since I last did myself in May. This is an article published on July the 16th of this year in New Republic magazine, and the title is The extraterrestrial vote on Pluto aliens, John Podesta's X-Files obsession, and the 2016 election. And it's written by someone called Rebecca Lieber. NASA's 9-year-old new... I'll have to do her voice. How would someone with that name speak? I don't know. NASA's 9-year-old New Horizons mission made history on Tuesday by giving Earth its first close glimpse of the planet Pluto. In response, Barack Obama said, thanks to NASA, things like that. But was New Horizons really Pluto's first visitor? John Podesta, who left his White House senior advisory position earlier this year to run Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, questioned the assumption. Podesta is a well-documented science fiction enthusiast who regularly riffed on the X-Files tagline, "The truth is out there." Now, I've covered all the John Podesta stuff in a previous film, so I won't go into that again. But Ms. Lieber continues. In 2002, Podesta told reporters at the National Press Club that the US government should declassify records that are more than 25 years old. He was, of course, discussing UFOs. He said, it's time to find out what the truth really is out there. He said we ought to do it because it's right. We ought to do it because, quite frankly, the American people can't handle the truth. And we ought to do it because it's the law. Podesta also wrote the forewords for Leslie Kane's 2010 book, UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record. In it, Podesta made the same case for disclosure. Leaving his White House post in February, Podesta again fueled Area 51 and Roswell conspiracy theories by tweeting that his biggest failure of 2014 was not securing the disclosure of UFO files. I noticed that this Ms. Lieber spells the word disclosure with a small d, not a capital D. And she continues. Thanks to Podesta's enthusiasm, Bill Clinton's presidential library has been inundated with Freedom of Information Act requests regarding aliens in the Podesta files. One such request illustrates the general thrust of the inquiries. Quote, all files on UFOs, Roswell, New Mexico, flying saucers, Area 51, or the TV show The X-Files, unquote. It's somewhat surprising they didn't seek to probe whether Podesta himself is an alien life form. And yet, such requests are completely in the tin-foil hat realm of conspiracy nuts. I hate it when they talk like that. I really do, these bloody journalists. Podesta would have had access to classified documents as a White House chief of staff for Clinton, since he had the highest clearance in government. Oh, well, I doubt that, quite frankly. He's probably not. Anyone who has his views on UFOs would never be given high security clearance. Space exploration featured in presidential elections before. As New York Magazine summarized earlier this year, Newt Gingrich promised to build a base on the moon if elected. Dennis Kucinich dropped a bomb in the 2008 debate. He thought he saw a UFO once, he said. And he was a Democratic presidential candidate. In 1982, presidential candidate Ross Perot blamed extraterrestrial life for this political gridlock. It's not the Republicans' fault, of course, and it's not the Democrats' fault, he said in his debate. Somewhere out there's an extraterrestrial that's doing all this, I guess. And I think he was joking now. Anyway, Ms. Lieber goes on to talk about Bill Clinton's appearance on the Jimmy Kimmel show, which I discussed previously. I don't want to carry on reading all this. There's a load of bollocks here. But she ends like this. As for the existence of aliens, however, Clinton hasn't taken a position on them. Her campaign dedicated to comment on the possibility of life in outer space. But UFOs declined to comment, sorry. But UFO believers hope she may open the possibility of other intelligent life. Stephen Bassett, who heads the Extraterrestrial Phenomena in Political Action Committee, told Roll Call in February, as far as I'm concerned, Hillary Clinton is not going to become President of the United States without going through the extraterrestrial issue. Right, well, I know that Clinton's campaign is not commenting on this, but I think Hillary would not select Podesta knowing what he does, unless she had at least an open mind on the subject. See, I think Hillary Clinton is going to be the next US president. They're going to play the political correctness card. The political correctness card again. They've had a black man, now they're going to have a woman. Woman! They have to do that because they know they can get a certain number of votes just on that line alone. It's all part of cultural Marxism and the New World Order, etc., etc. So, yeah, Hillary Clinton will be the next president. The others, Donald Trump is going to have a heart attack at some point, conveniently, like John Smith and Robin Cook did. So, well, I don't know if Steve is right where he says that she can't become president without going through the extraterrestrial issue. Every other president before her has done, so I think she's going to as well. I think she will probably continue to be part of the truth embargo, and I think it's going to take more than John Podesta's and Steve Bassett's persuasion to make her reconsider. And I'd love to be proved wrong on that. Hopefully I will be. We'll see. Right, now this is something I'm surprised I haven't mentioned in previous films. I first came across this story. I mean, I wrote about this story on Her Panama Voice in April, and so I assumed that I'd covered it in this series of videos, UFO Disclosure 2015. But it seems I haven't. There have been several articles, news articles that have been published about strange things being seen on Google Earth in Antarctica. Third Phase of the Moon has covered this, and one of the stories came out about the same time as that incident in Canada that I was talking about. Now, obviously, I'm not going to focus. I'm not going to reveal or talk about all of these events because all these news articles, because some of them are really obviously just crevasses. They're just gaps in the ice, things like that, which people have identified as UFOs. But I am going to talk about this event, this particular event, which because it is firstly it's much more interesting in terms of the kind of evidence, and secondly it's actually quite close to a large facility on which I actually know somebody, or I don't know them, but I'm acquainted with somebody. So I'm hoping that they will. I'm hoping that they will investigate this for me. I've not heard from them, but I have contacted them about it. And as I said, this came out in April, and I reported it on the Panama Voice. And this is an even more inaccessible location than the event in Canada. And as I said, it's yet to be verified. Now, Antarctica, this huge continent, bigger than Europe, almost entirely covered with ice, and located over the south polar region of the Earth. And it's very cold there. It's very remote. It's hard to get to. It's a long way from anywhere else. The temperature there rarely rises above freezing, and it can plummet to minus 80. So nobody lives there. There are no large land animals except penguins. But there are people there. A few thousand at a time work there on various scientific research stations, which are dotted around the place. And over half the people in Antarctica are located at the biggest scientific station there, which is McMurdo Station, it's called. This is a large self-contained American settlement on the coast of an island, which is on the Ross Sea in Antarctica. Now, this is frozen over for almost the entire year. And you can find it on Google Earth. It's at grid reference 77 degrees 51 south, 166 degrees 40 east. There's even some street views on it. It's amazing to see. And Google Earth is very handy because it does have a scale, so you can test it for the amount of for distances and for size of objects seen. Now, a few miles away from McMurdo Station, there's a New Zealander station called Scott Base, and there's a location. The location of interest we're talking about lies just 2 miles away from Scott Base. It's on the Ross ice shelf, which is a permanent ice frozen over area of water to the east of these facilities, these bases. Now, what you see is basically in this picture, and you go to Google Earth now, it should still be there. It was when I last checked. there's a structure which is hexagonal in shape. In fact, I'm just going to go and check it again. One moment. Oh, actually, I can't find it now. I wonder if it's disappeared. I guess we'll soon find out. I mean, I'll update you if this has disappeared. Anyway, this picture of what you see is what was there. I don't know. This may be completely innocent. Do update Google Maps every so often, or Google Earth. Anyway, what it was is what you see. About 2 miles northeast of Scott Base on the Ross Ice Shelf, there was this hexagonal structure. It was like it looks like a kind of it's some kind of it looks hexagonal or disc shaped with a sort of hexagon edge, and it's lying at the end of this furrow of snow. So about judging by the map scale, the furrow of snow is about 300 feet long, and the artifact is roughly 30 to 40 feet across. It's white. Now, 100 yards or so to the east of that is a row of oblong objects, and they're evenly spaced. They're about 100 feet apart. They're slightly bigger than the hexagonal structure. And what third phase said they were tanks. They said a row of tanks was actually approaching a crashed UFO. That's what they said. And they do look vaguely like a tank. They have a main body with a superstructure on top, which could be like the gun turret. There are some snowdrifts around them, and there's no tracks. Now that's interesting. This indicates they've been parked there for some time, and you've got to go to the second highest to minimum degree of magnification to actually see these objects, unless of course they've been censored. I don't know. I've got these suspicious minds, haven't I? I really do. Blimey, I'm like a conspiracy theorist. Anyway, there's this. What it indicates is that there are two photos. There's the maximum magnification where there's nothing, and then there's the second from highest magnification where there is something, which indicates the two photos were taken at different times. Does this mean that those 5 objects are temporary anyway, and they've either recently arrived or they've recently been removed? Now, there are other photos of the area, and you can actually still see these objects on the greater magnification. And the actual program, the presenters on third phase of the moon, they compare what's happening here to the Day the Earth Stood Still, the famous 1951 movie, where a flying saucer lands and a military task force surrounds it. Now, like I say, third phase do speculate a lot, and they do it during this program about this whole thing. They accuse Google of covering up the information. Well, maybe it is. Maybe they are covering it up. Anyway, I did manage to capture some screenshots. Someone else sent me some screenshots. Now, if the 4 rectangular objects are tanks, then they're not the average tanks in common service in any of the militaries of the world. Now, the biggest tank ever built was called the Panzer VIII Maus, which means a mouse, which is odd. But there was only ever 2 of them constructed in 1944 by Nazi Germany. There's only one still in existence. It's in a museum. Now, it's 37 feet long, which is much smaller than any of these objects, and no modern tank has ever matched the size of the Panzer VIII Maus. So maybe there's something else. They're not tanks. It's too soon to tell. We don't know what any of these objects are, and there's not enough information to be sure. The United States Antarctic Program has got this website up, and you can go to it. There's no suspicious activity that I'm aware of on there, and there are live webcams of McMurdo Station and the other bases on Antarctica. They appear to be working normally, but we'll see what happens anyway. But I don't think, well, I think it's unlikely this is a UFO crash retrieval, and I think we need more information. And as I said, I am in contact with a person who works at McMurdo Station, although I've not heard from him for quite a while. I don't know if he's still there, but he's American, and he might have gone home to the United States, but he knows me because he listens to Hapanwo Radio. I was very pleased about that, because it means I have listeners on every continent on Earth, including Antarctica. So I've written to him. He's not replied. This was a few months ago, so I don't know. Maybe he's gone. Maybe he won't reply. I don't know. But if any of you have friends or family currently working at the McMurdo Base Antarctica, then get in touch with them. find out if anything's going on there. I'm not turning skeptic on you. If there is an Antarctic Roswell, I take that seriously. But this revelation by third phase may not be a real one. I mean, there are secrets in Antarctica, which I've talked about before, including Operation Paperclip, things like that. Something I can't go into now, it's too much detail, but they've also said to be nuclear bomb tests and activities relating to esoteric energy and weapon systems in Antarctica, as Nexus magazine has reported. There are reports of paranormal activity, Bigfoot-like creatures, ghosts, etc. There's also some strange structures above the McMurdo station that may be telescopes or radio antennas, we don't know. If disclosure is about to happen, then the solution to this mystery, if it is a mystery, might come, but I don't think it's going to be the kind of trigger event that Steve Bassett talks about. Oh, now this is interesting. Yes, I've often said, and I've been saying several times in this series of films, Russia is where it's at. And I mean that, I mean many things when I say that, but UFOs are one of them. And it has been reported that there was some drama at a recent meeting in Switzerland. Now, what happened was, this was the World Economic Forum, which is an annual conference, which is at the luxury resort, of course, of Davos in Switzerland. It's a kind of like not secret Bilderberg group meeting, in other words. And it's attended by many of the world's top statesmen and business leaders, academics, journalists. David Cameron goes, Angela Merkel was there. The Russian Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, is apparently, he was there. Now, this is very interesting because when he was there, he apparently issued a stern warning to the United States of America, which, of course, is the center of the truth embargo, as Steve Bassett calls it. And he said that this all came out in apparently a written report published by Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it said that President Obama must initiate disclosure with a capital D, or Russia will do it unilaterally. And most ex-politicians agree that this will be an enormous blow to the USA's credibility on the world stage. But you have to ask yourself, is this story real? Because there was a lot of mention of it in the alternative media. If you Google Dmitry Medvedev UFO Disclosure, whatever, you'll come across a lot of references to this. But there are no valid source documents, and I searched under those terms. I went to the Russian Ministry of Defense, Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs website. There's an English language section there. I searched under those terms and I came up with nothing. There could be something there in Russian. I don't know. I can't speak Russian. I can't, and so I can't look there. If you can, then please have a look yourself. So I don't know. But I do wonder if the subject of UFOs and ET disclosure came up at this World Economic Forum, because during the conference there was a session where the delegates discussed what they call X factors. Now, this doesn't mean they all get up on stage and see who can sing the best. It means they venture into speculative, futurological subjects to try and work out what will happen as a result of them. And at this meeting they tabled the possibility that extraterrestrial life might be discovered. There's a distinct likelihood in today's world of seeing, because we have these sophisticated probes exploring Mars and telescopes looking for organic chemicals on exoplanets, that is, planets orbiting other stars, not the Sun. What effect would it have on society if something like that was discovered? On the economy, on our culture, etc., etc. The political world. And you can see, though, I mean, the official agenda, if you go to they've released a report, this World Economic Forum, and it doesn't expand to cover the possibility that ET life is already known to exist, it is intelligent, and it's already arrived on planet Earth. In other words, UFOs. But did the delegates digress during an informal get-together afterwards? The UFO issue might well have come up, which is where this story came from. And I've talked before about my thoughts on willing disclosure, and I'm going to do it again. My logical side says it can never happen. I've been into that. But the thing about it is, okay, if theoretically, if Russia did warn the USA that it might disclose without the boss's permission, then that is not an idle threat. Because Russia has the largest land surface area of any country on Earth. It's the biggest country in terms of its geographical size. And the old Soviet Union was even bigger, because at its height, almost 20% of the Earth's landmass was draped with the hammer and sickle flag of the Soviet Union. Now, of course, in the late 1980s and early 90s, that huge communist empire collapsed. But when that happened, there was this hemorrhage of secret files from the newly disbanded, infamous Soviet intelligence agency, the KGB. And among those files was some fascinating and compelling information on UFOs. Some film of UFOs, alien autopsies, crashes, that are far more convincing than some of the other nonsense that's come out on YouTube, I can tell you. So, there's no doubt, I think, that the USSR had a vast, very successful UFO research project, and that some of the information on that project was leaked into the public domain through the black market. But Dmitry Medvedev, the Prime Minister, has also inadvertently divulged the idea that the Russian president continuously has access to UFO information on him at all times. And he said afterwards that he was joking, but well, I've said that before and I've been caught out in similar situations. So, could we see a wildcat UFO disclosure by Russia? That's the question. Could that actually happen? They will just say, no, we're not going to keep up with this truth embargo. We're going to have a wildcat disclosure. America's not going to stop us. If it were any other country, I would say no. But as I explained in previous films, Russia is not doing what it's being told by the globalist lords and masters. And in fact, the world, the globalists, are currently waging a covert war against Russia. This is why they're crashing the price of oil. It's to basically give Russia a hard time. Now, the UFO secrecy issue could be a part of that, and this is not without precedent in history. Because maybe I'll say more about this in another film, because it's a huge subject. But Sir Eric Gairy was the Prime Minister of Grenada. Now, Grenada is a small little island in the Caribbean where you can go on holiday. It's very nice there. But Eric Gairy had a strong influence in UFOs, and there's been an on and off UFO flap on that island, actually. Pardon me. Now, in the 1970s, Gairy approached the United Nations in an attempt to organise official investigations of the ET phenomenon, and he actually held meetings at the UN offices. He invited ufologists, people like Jacques Vallée, J. Allen Hynek, Major Gordon Cooper, who was an astronaut and is a UFO whistleblower. And Gairy also prepositioned the United Nations to make 1978 the International Year of the UFO. Now, everything went fine at first, but then, the Secretary General, who was a guy called Kurt Waldheim, who was actually a former SS officer, he said at first he was facilitating Gairy's proposal, but then everything went tits up. Something happened at home that kiboshed everything. What happened was Gairy was deposed in a coup d'etat. Someone called Maurice Bishop installed a communist regime in Grenada, and Gairy was exiled from his country. His party was outlawed, and Gairy was forbidden to enter the country. He had to go and live in America, I think, as in exile, as a political asylum seeker. So I can't help wondering, was it Sir Eric Gairy's interest in UFOs that toppled his government? Could those behind the Grenada coup have had ulterior motive? There's some very damning evidence that has actually come to light from the BBC, of all places, that says that British officials were actually keeping an eye on Gairy when he went to the United Nations in 1977. There are files from the National Archives that reveal this. The British delegation thought that the establishment of an agency for research into unidentified flying objects is an inappropriate function of the United Nations. They really were very much against this. So there you go. That's a big subject. I'm going to have to cover that another time. But could something similar be happening in Russia right now? That's the question. Just a little reminder that Exopol is coming. That's right.
the 7th annual British Exopolitics Expo is going to take place on the weekend of October the 17th and the 18th. That's going to be at the Leeds Beckett University, no relation to the organiser, in Leeds, West Yorkshire. And speakers are going to include Robbie Graham, Pierre Sabac, Mary Rodwell, Nigel Mortimer, Steve Mera, Richard Dolan, Anthony Beckett himself. And the compere for the event will be none other than Ben Emlyn Jones, someone I think you've heard of before. That's right, your humble servant is going to be a master of ceremonies at this event yet again. I'm really looking forward to it. As I said, if 2015 is the year of disclosure, then this conference could turn out to be one of the most important ever. It's a great shame we haven't got Steve Bassett there. I'm really, really disappointed about that. But we do have Richard Dolan, who's another guy from America. All the other speakers are excellent too. And it's just been announced that Miriam Janse is going to speak, the Dutch artist and esoteric researcher. She's going to speak as well. So please do get to that if you can. Details are at exopoliticsgreatbritain.com. And I tell you what, it is I'll say this straight out. It's a fantastic event, the Exopolitics Leeds ones, and I just love them. And as I said, if you could really regret it if you don't go to this, if it turns out that history is made there. And we do have UFO disclosure in this year of our Lord 2015.
Well, guys and gals, it's time to go through the various comments you left me on the last video, and we begin with Jack Reaper. Says here that the UFO Perps article that I read out sounds completely fine to me and accurate. Now this is unfortunately, I'm sorry about this, but there's been so long has gone past since the last time I did any of these videos that I can't always remember what I was talking about. So you'll have to bear with me here. But he said that you read it in a pompous tone of voice, but the actual content of the article was spot on. The UFO world is full of charlatans, con men, nobody provides evidence, and it's just telling a good story. You yourself are just getting started on the UFO speaking circuit, aren't you, Ben? Don't want that gravy train of gullible idiots to dry up before you've had a crack of the whip, do we? It's rather cynical, Jack, if I understand you correctly. Project Black is back. Black is back. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Yeah, Project Black has to stick his oar in again. Jaime Maussan reminds me of some dozy Mexican asleep under a tree in some spaghetti western. If I saw him talking to Clint Eastwood, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Throw a stone in the air, take a picture. It's on the UFO news with him demanding government money to disclose because he claims a chunk of fossilised donkey shit is an interstellar spacecraft waiting to make contact with his lower bowel. Oh well. Yeah, Jaime. I mean, I would not put it like that. Okay, I think Jaime's a good guy. Obviously, he's made a big error here. I hope I've covered everything I need to cover when it comes to UFO disclosure. The UFO disclosure relates to those Roswell slides. Thailand Amulet said, haha, those peg rails for Charles were invented long after the 1940s. You're talking... Well, I share this shelf with somebody else. It's only that bit that's mine. Really? I hadn't noticed, really. I mean, this house... Well, I don't know when this building was... I mean, this is a flat. I don't know when that building was built. The interview with an alien is bullshit. It's awful phony crap. Oh, no, right. The creature is in the dark and puppetry. Lame. No, it's not. And this guy, he's called Jack Palia, goes on to talk an awful lot more about various rhetoric. He uses a lot of rhetoric here, which I've talked about before in the Dr. Jonathan Reed video, about how if you use too much rhetoric, you discredit yourself. And I think this guy has. I'm going to cover the alien interview video in more detail in future productions. And I'm going to do some special stuff about it next year because it's the 20th anniversary. But you know, I don't think you're being fair there. He then talks about Skinny Bob. Okay, Mike Hallowell did an analysis of Skinny Bob, the Skinny Bob footage, and it did turn out to be fake. Right, Starfucker is back. Sorry, that's his name. He talks about things being debunked. Yeah, I know. All right. Well, look, I think I'm not going to go through all these comments here, but basically Starfucker, Truther, Projects Black, CHXFX, and JC Paleo is back on this thread again. Alright, you guys didn't watch the whole of my video, alright? I want you to go back and watch again. I know it's a long one, it's feature length, but please do watch the video before you make comments, because otherwise you're making comments about things that I've already answered in the video. I can't make these videos any shorter, there's just too much information out there. So I'm afraid you can just watch in little bits if you want, then comment afterwards. Ines Grijjalva, I wish people would have names that they could actually I could actually pronounce. The organisers of this event, of good-intentioned people, seriously believe in what they do, investigative research, but they are victims of fraud and a web of lies. I know. Okay, most UFOs seen in the world are man-made, and documented evidence from Nazi Germany, Operation Paperclip. Yeah, Inez is talking about the possibility of the anti-gravity and things like anti-gravity craft and things like that, which are still being used. And I know that's true. Okay, but really, there may be some objects in the sky which are esoteric aircraft built by humans on this earth. The Nazis were working on it. Nikola Tesla and people like that were working on it. I've talked about this in previous films. And so I don't think that has any relation to the Roswell slides, though. Whether that thing about whether what Inez says is true or not, it's not related to the Roswell slides. Bill 9999. Good video, Ben. Keep it up, mate. We'll do the homework for you. Thanks, sir. Lol. So thanks, Bill. Thank you. Edmund Matthews. Oh, I haven't heard from him for a while. Hi, Ben. I wouldn't worry too much about. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Outside the UFO community, very few people are aware that this ever happened, so I don't think it will discredit the truth movement much. The UFO movement much. It does seem a deliberate attempt to discredit. Right, yeah. So these videos, some of these comments are too long for me to read out altogether. Actually, Edmund, since I made that video, a lot of my fears have not come to pass, and that the actual fallout from this has not been as bad as I feared. I mean, I listen regularly to skeptic podcasts, and it's not been mentioned there at all, which is very, very interesting. Hunley. Hi, Hunley. As always, great video, Ben. Thanks, Hunley. Please don't be disheartened by this. They are out there and not even all that far away. So, thanks, Hunley. And he questions that maybe I should do a Google Hangout, which is not a bad idea. I might do a Google Hangout. But I'm not disheartened, thanks, Hunley, and I appreciate your support. As I said, it's not the be-all and end-all of everything. I think that was something I was worried about and didn't come to pass. Projects Black answers, Hayum-san couldn't lose any more credibilities. If he painted himself green and ran down the fucking street screaming his donkey is from Venus. Well, all right, Projects Black, we get your point about Hayuma-san. Richie 3D, good stuff, Ben. Thanks, Richie. Tiberius Kirk, right, he talks about the placard. There's been some Photoshop work done on here to further muddy the waters. If what it reads is real, then the event supports have a problem. Yes, I know. That's all come out since then. So a lot of the problem with these comments is that they're quite old, and I couldn't do any more videos in the series until now, and I'm sorry about that. An in-law outlaw said this: those who have had real experiences, I'm one of them, feel blessed and lucky. If what I captured over a period of a few weeks on film, then it would have been incredible footage. And Projects Black, basically an argument ensues between an in-law outlaw and Projects Black, which I won't read out, but it's in the comments box on the previous video, which there's a link in the description box to that video. But Projects Black is obviously a skeptic, so alright, he's entitled to his opinions, but so be it. I don't agree. Tino, we will move on, and quickly. We will indeed. Thanks, Tino. Prince Buster 93. These so-called aliens are demonic. If the Vatican are promoting alien life forms, that should tell you all you need to know. Well, whether they are, I mean, I think I've covered this before too, but I mean, Richard Dolan and Bryce Zabel cover this subject, Prince Buster 93, in their book AD After Disclosure. And the possibility that they may be angels or demons is one of those raised. Douglas Palmer says, Jaime, as one researcher, I think is above reproach. I think he's been duped big time, and the guys that have done this, if proved to be nothing more than a mummy, should give their money back and charge with fraud. That's my thoughts on the matter. You're right, Douglas. I've actually written to Adam Dew and I've demanded my money back. A lot of other people have too. I paid about £11 to watch that stuff. Stayed up till 5 in the morning. I've done special programs on this subject actually since then. I mean, if you go to the Hapanway Radio blog, you'll find I did a special on it on Mindset and a special on it on Hapanway show. I did an actual double feature. Macca 8100 says, all I can say, Ben, is Occam's razor. Here we go again. Right, my son got caught doing a fake with a little monkey doused in acid a little while ago. Yeah, all right. Love watching your vids, mate. Great channel. Thanks, Macca. Now, Occam's razor is interesting because there's a problem with it. Occam's razor states that the most likely solution to any problem is the one you should always go for first. So if your radio breaks down, you should try changing the batteries before opening up and fiddling with the insides. However, there's a problem with Occam's razor, and that is that you have to know how the radio works first. In other words, what is more or less likely is not, unless it's universally decided and everyone agrees on it, then it becomes useless as a reasoning system, because you can always claim that you don't agree that that is less fake or more fake than anything else. So you could say, well, the possibility of UFOs existing may be more likely than someone with a photograph taking a photo of a mummy which everyone thinks is an alien. Okay, so thanks for that comment, Macca. Anyway, can UFOs advance science? Question mark. Excellent work. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. That's very nice. We have always had our serious concerns about ex-US Air Force crypto expert and now author Tom Kerry and his friend Anthony Borrelia, and what their motivations were. Yeah, well, I've talked about Tom Kerry already, and I'm not happy with what he's been doing so far. Catherine Hislop has just shared on a... All right, it's just oh, she shared it. Thanks, Catherine. It's a share, that one. Paul Armstrong. Anyone paying attention to the stream has been ripped off by a team of con men. Yeah. Well, I think there may be one con man who's ripped off a load of other people, but at least, yeah, I mean, we should have our money back there. I mean, I wrote to Adam Dew under the Trade Descriptions Act saying, please could you return my money? So I'll let you know how that goes. Sith Lord UK. All this has been done to set Stephen Bassett back and the disclosure movement. Nobody with any credibility will touch this field now. Now this is an interesting point, and I've made this before. Are we looking at a situation where, as I said earlier in the film, and I think I've said on previous films, this is like the alien autopsy film, intended to discredit real information? Maybe some of the stuff coming out of Russia. That was certainly the case with the alien autopsy film in 1995. Is some major piece of evidence about to come to light which the Roswell slides fiasco is intended to slurry? Could be. Project Black replies, someone's flicked shit on a white wall, and yet another money spinner, etc, etc. Rhetoric. Seth Lord and Project Black have a little debate, but it seems like they agree much more. Gary Roberts. Jaime Maussan has been full of shit for decades. He sees a balloon and declares a UFO invasion. There are videos of birds, dry cleaner bags filled with small helium balloons. Almost as bad as Dr. Stephen Greer. Not quite yet. Okay. Get over it, you dumb moony cult freaks. Are you talking to me, arsehole? Fuck you, Gary. No. Anyway, if you want to be rude in the comments box, I'll just delete your bloody comment. All right. Don't have any of that. Michael Purcell. I mean, but then I should say to Gary, actually, you've explained to me why I'm wrong about something, even though I actually agree that the Roswell slides are fake. And if you watch the video, you'd know that. You haven't even watched the video. You've seen the title, and you just put a comment in the box. But basically, yeah. I mean, if you think I'm wrong about anything, then explain to me why I'm wrong. If you just call me names and be rude and use rhetoric, then that's not actually an argument, is it? Michael Purcell. See a lot of positive and negative things here, guys. Is it a mummy? Is it an alien? It's a mummy, Michael. If you can think of this or research it back to a certain date when they were Egyptian times, Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, there's too much here too. Anyway, Ben, awesome video, pal. Keep up the great work. I'm going to crack open my disclosure bottle for that anyway. I'm not going to. Remember my disclosure champagne I've got, yeah. So Michael's just basically making the same point I did. Tiberius Kirk. I feel the event will be used by certain elements to apply further splits in ufology circles. Yes, it will, Tiberius. Did the event move the subject on? No, it didn't. The event itself was okay, but a bit long. The alien slides, who knows? This event added nothing new, nothing more to the Roswell incident, which for me, anyway, was 100% a real event. Thanks for another great video, Ben. Tiberius Kirk. Thank you, Tiberius. Glad you liked it. You're very welcome. No, it's... As I said, this does cause splits in ufology circles. Although the split is not down the middle, the split is kind of like right on the edge. There's all of ufologists there, and there's this tiny little fringe there that still think they're real. So I think the way people have responded to the Roswell slides has actually been something extremely positive. I think if this was an attempt to create any confusion or disinformation, it hasn't worked because people have actually been, they sussed it from the beginning. People like Kevin Randall, Stanton Friedman, we do have a lot to thank these guys for. Philip Mandel as well, he saw through this as well. I don't agree with everything Philip says, but he's he's right on this occasion, definitely right on this occasion. Christine Walsh, stop touching your face. Why not? Why not? If you had a face like mine, wouldn't you want to touch it? Gary Roberts, my son needs to be sitting cool and dark in jail for this unimaginable fraud. There's a lot of capitalisation. Huge event, money, outrageous, and yeah. All right, Gary. I don't think you can't jail a guy for being fooled. Okay, you can't. Tino said, Deflategate. Deflategate. All right. Oh, Philip Mandel has actually published something here. But thanks. He's published a picture of. What's he published? It's something from Photobucket. It is. He's published the placard, which I've been talking about. Mummified body of a 2-year-old boy. You don't even need the deblur software to see. That's what it says. So thanks, Philip. Catherine Hislop has shared. Thanks, Catherine. Oya shared. Thank you, Oya. Mystic Magic. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. Arthur Conan Doyle. That's very true, Mystic Mage. Doyle was actually very much into spiritualism and psychical research, and he was originally a friend of Harry Houdini, but they fell out because Houdini was a skeptic. Orange sherbet. It looks like a glass shelf in a museum. Yes, it does. Yeah, that's right. Project's Black. Comments on there. Yeah, we know that. Thailand Amulets. Jaime Mason has monetized this event to pay for his retirement. I don't think Mason is actually a willing accomplice in this. I really think Jaime got involved with it because he believes in it. He's got plenty of money for his retirement. He's been in the media for a long time. Pip Aussie says, laughing my arse off. Oh, yeah, me too. Huskvasm. Why are we entering this mummy at all? I've already replied to Huskvasm in here, but basically, he repeats a point that I made. Tino, this information aspect, Ben. Remember the ruse I mentioned in my post on one of your videos a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, you see, I covered the possibility of fraud here for the purpose of discrediting another upcoming revelation. Saucy Saucerton. Who the fuck knows what's real and what's not in this field? These creatures exist for sure. These craft exist for sure. Couldn't say a word about the beings they're in. I've not seen any of them. A lot of this info coming out the last few months. Is this due to looming disclosure? Who the fuck knows? Yeah, that's true. I mean, there has been actually. So whether that supports the idea of what Steve Bassett talks about, I don't know. It's not hard to say. Project's Black. Oh God, I'm not reading through that again. Top dollar, sir, says Ben. Alan Gildear. Thanks, Sir Ben. Sir Ben. Alan Gildear. Thanks a lot. Some Japanese person here, who's... I won't try to pronounce his name or her name. There are UFO craft depicted in 17th century biblical art and 16th century biblical art. UFOs are not a new phenomenon. Government has been lying about this issue for over 60 years. Why would they tell the truth now? Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And you're right about the ancient, UFOs have been around for a long, long time. They appear in ancient artworks. They appear in cave paintings thousands of years old. About time B&H, says Catharism. I don't know what that means. Xylomet. Oh yeah. It's strange but self-evident truth when a retiring sceptical position is disproved, the sceptical world suffers less than the alternative world. Maybe. I don't know. I think you're probably right, Xylomet. The skeptic world, actually, any blow to the skeptic conscience is phenomenal. And I covered this before on other films. Xylomet's posted a lot more. I can't read all of that. I'm sorry, X. There might be dodgy goings on, says Stephen Bamber. There nearly always is, and the creature does look strange. Photoshop come to mind, but who knows? Yeah, you're certainly right there, mate. Mr. Cutsy says, love your videos, Ben. Been listening to your Hapanlo radio stuff too. Lovely fella. Keep up the good work, matey. Thanks, Mr. Cutsy. Peter May. Of course you didn't think it was a mummified child, and you were obviously desperate for ETs to exist. Conspiracy theorists post anything that suits their purpose, regardless if it's historically correct or not. Does that ring any bells? Video, but I doubt it. Oh, Peter May. This is the guy who posted on the Miles Johnson upload of my Woodborough speech. And since then, he's been going around every video I have, putting a comment on there. He's really got my case. He really has. I can't really engage him in conversation because it would take me 6 hours a day probably to debate with this guy. Catharism. Sorry, Ben, but it's a scam. It is indeed. Pain and death to the New World Order. Thanks for sharing. Xylomet Outland. Thanks for sharing, mate. Thank you. Jam Noise 72. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Jackie. I feel that this has just been a distraction, and I feel like they have set us up somehow. I agree with you. This may well be to cover up something real that may be about to come out. Great video, bro. Why didn't you tell me you were in Watford? All right. Thanks, Jackie. In Watford. Oh, that was the UFO Academy. I'm sorry, Jackie. I really am. I'm sorry I didn't tell you I was going to be at the UFO Academy. Flat Earth, says Catharism. Ha ha ha. Don't start me on the Flat Earth stuff, please. Stephen Bamber. It is by no means the ends of UFO research, but forget the mainstream. That's exactly right, because, as I said, I was concerned that this would be the end of ufology. There was even that gravestone picture, that little placard I posted, that tableau of the gravestone, ufology dead. But it hasn't happened. We've got through this. I like UFO spotting myself, and also some ancient stuff that Michael Desarian talks about. You're absolutely right. Ian Bennett has shared. Thank you very much. Linda Casey. I'm still no the wiser. I'm still no wiser. Yeah, I mean, Linda, hopefully what's in this film will answer some more of your questions. So thanks very much, guys, for those. Really appreciate your comments. So where do we go from here? I don't know about you, but I do feel, as I said in a previous video I did on the Colonel Holt event, that this whole subject is stagnating. We need a breakthrough. We can't just go on waiting and just going over the old stuff again and again and again. We need some kind of revolution, something to break the impasse. Because I do feel we are trapped in an impasse right now with ufology, and it's not going to be easy to break. Anyway, I'm going to make some more videos on this subject. Although we are now, it's now August. It's August 2015. We are at the end of this month. It'll be 2/3 of the year gone, and I'm hoping to have Stephen Bassett back on my radio show soon, so you can check that out. He'll hopefully give us some updates. But the media haven't been terribly helpful. I hope that if you are a US Senator or Congressman and you're watching this, please do watch the DVDs of the Citizens Hearing on ET Disclosure that Stephen Bassett sent you, and do think very carefully about what's in them and what you need to do as a result. I say this to the presidential candidates as well, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and those other people. All right, who are you working for? Do they have everyone's best interests at heart? If you have any shred of conscience, then you might want to think about that before you run for president. And I'll end with this, because this is, I can't even remember who said this. I think it was Bryce Zabel. But I made a note of this without noting exactly who it was talking, that I made a note of it of. But it says this. Some cautions. As disclosure nears during the final days of the truth embargo, there are some threads for which interested parties should be on alert. This is obviously Stephen Bassett. The use of the word truth embargo always indicates that it's Stephen Bassett. Some government entities may well introduce new disinformation into the web stream. That's the internet. In order to slow things down and buy some time. Some supporters of the process will begin to hyperventilate and post wishful material. This is exaggerated and hyper-exotic. I don't know what that means exactly, but I think it means that you might start believing in anything because you want to, because you so badly want this all to be done. Professional and amateur hoaxers will jump in with all manner of bizarre postings. I think we've certainly seen that. I think in the comments box of my videos are good examples. 4 years of sacrifice and frustration on the part of some researchers and activists will create strong emotions and much internal tension. The critics of the advocacy work and research will lash out as the ground on which they have stood begins to shake. The closer it gets, the greater the need to go zen. Stay calm and enjoy the ride. Go zen is what Americans say, where you just keep calm and be philosophical and integrate the experience. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Hapanwo TV viewers, thank you very much for watching this latest instalment of my series of films, UFO Disclosure 2015. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order.